It's academic and it's theater, a place where they both meet.
You have to be audience and participant for each other.
Intellectual practices, historical practices, cultural practices. Everybody, please.
Examples of women
sharing what it is that you do, sharing how you do that.
There's no way you can ignore Latinos anymore. Work from all around the world, you can come and see and talk about.
What time is it now in Kenya?
It started out about different people and about different things.
A whole sea of phenomenon. Theater for everybody, yes, everybody.
That's what should be done.
Have to be completely open.
And indeed, my understanding of life, relationships, death, has already changed.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking time out of your, for sure, busy life, especially in the pre-season and in New York City, to be with us for an evening of our World Theater presentations. And we are truly honored to have with us one of the great European theater artists with us, and it's Italian playwright, Stefano Massini. And he flew in from Milano, is that right? Just on Friday, we'll leave tomorrow morning. He just came here, and he is also the artistic director of the Piccolo Teatro di Milano. And anybody who knows about theater history, and world theater will know what a significant institution this is. So it's a big honor and pleasure for us, and really thank you for taking the time. And we will talk tonight about his play, The Lehman Brothers. And as you know, we talked about it a bit before, there are hundreds of playwriting schools and things, but it took an Italian to write a story about the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy and the story of a small family from Germany, from Bavaria, that went to the middle of America, came back, and he combined the history of a family with the history in a way of capitalism and the collapse of something, and a mythical image, and what happened to it is a most fascinating thing. And what we learned while we were doing it, it actually will be done in London by Sam Mendes at the National Theatre. So that is sensational. It had many, many productions translated in 14 languages. You just said 7 times. It was just done also in Germany. So it's something we really should know about, have to know about. And really, thank you for coming out. I know how much you work and how much you have on your plate. It's also his first visit to New York, and you came with your family, right? So your parents, are they in the room? And so thank you for coming. The evening would not have been possible without the help of the Italian Playwrights Project, the idea of humanism and 365 gradi, and the great Valeria Orani, who under truly complex circumstance, it's time for me also to leave Italy for a while, come here and to try to create a bridge between these two continents or countries, and not enough has been heard from Italy for a while, and I think it's a great a contribution to the theater here in New York City you created with your project, and also with Tommaso, who is your partner, who also will translate tonight, and with Marco, who was the director here. So it's also a writer. So it's a great collaboration, and we feel very confident in that this is a significant outreach project. We are part of Penbold Voices also, and it was Salman Rushdie and Paul Auster who created the festival, and they said, we do not hear enough voices from around the world. It's a very big island, and not enough comes through, and they were very concerned, created that great festival, and in a way, this is our contribution. Also, the Italian Cultural Institute really from the very beginning has understood what we are doing, and maybe even better than we did, and they supported us right away. And I would like to welcome Giorgio van Straten to come here, who also will participate. So also thank you. He's also a writer, a great novelist. And I think, yes, you see there's a theater from Italy, a playwright, and a cultural institute, a university place. So this is actually what our work is about, to combine it and to really understand better what the meaning is of our life, what we are doing, where we come from, and where we are going to. I also would like to welcome Mario Frati, who is with us, the Italian-American playwright, and many, many others who are here. So again, thank you so much for coming. On a personal and a per sad note, a great supporter of the Siegel Theater Center died yesterday, was Jack Rudin. He, together with Susan Rudin, have been instrumental in connecting me also with Martin Siegel and in the creation of the center. They have been the really significant supporters. He died very peacefully at the age of 92 after a long struggle, but we really owe him a lot, and all what we do would not be happening without him. So again, thank you to Jack, wherever he is. We also would like to thank Joe Lucicero, who is here, who is on our board, and also helped, especially to make this evening happen and to support us. So thank you for coming and being with us. My name is Frank Henschke. I'm the Executive Director and Director of Programs together with Antje Oegel. So we work to make this evening happen. It took us a year, I think, almost as long as we talked about it, to find a time that did work. We will hear the excerpts of the novel because the play hasn't been fully translated yet, and as you know, it's complicated. It's going to be done now at the National. We can't just, I wanted to translate it, but the National Theatre in London said, Frank, just calm down. Maybe take the novel first. We don't want to ruin it, that people get scared away from it. Even so, I think the play stands on its own legs, so we will hear excerpt from it, but it's also, of course, about that story. The evening shouldn't be longer than 90 minutes. We will be here. We're going to have a little reception in their place. If you have a cell phone, just take it out for 1 second. I'll do the same. And let's make sure it's not on. I think it is off, so please make sure yours is off too. And we will have an introduction from Valeria about theater in Italy. We will have a great journalist. He will introduce him, Graziano, who came to our Playwright project. He works for the RAI. He will he gave us a little video he sent us to explain us a bit more about the work. Then we will hear the reading by a great American actor and also directed by Marco, and then we will have a dialogue and at the end also open up for questions with us. So I think it's an extraordinary evening, and again, really thank you for coming. It's a great, great, great honor, and Valeria.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. This is our second edition of Italian Playwrights Project. It's a very special second edition because it's different from the first one, and also for the forward ones, because we decided to guest Stefano Massini in a period dedicated to translate and then publish the plays we presented the last year. For who was not here, the plays were selected by the winners of 3 famous prizes in Italy: Premio Ubu, Premio Riccione, Premio Istrio, and then chosen from 12 operas and presented to the audience here 1 year ago, just in December the 7th. And then now translated integrally and published in the future during the 2017. So it was the occasion to stay quiet and don't meet the audience during this year, or a challenge to meet the audience with another project that is very connected to the first one, but a little bit different, a little bit special. And so I thank you very much, Stefano, to come here, because it's a great honor. And of course, we couldn't select your play with the others one. It was impossible to do that. And I take just few minutes to say something about Italian contemporary theater. There is living in a special moment here in Italy, because the Italian contemporary theater is like a jungle now in Italy. We have a lot of productions, like 7,000 a year. So it is very difficult to wake up in this panorama and to also preserve the professionals, the spatial writers we have. Of course, we can do just a little thing, but I think is important because Italian playwrights almost write for themselves and to direct themselves and also play themselves the play they wrote. So it's very, very important to help this mechanism goes out and put outside and spread the word something that couldn't stay very personal in the life of an author and also in the life of the theater, because theater is the mirror of the society mostly of the time, also cinema, also art, also literature, of course. But theater too, because it is extemporary. So when Frank asked me to think about a project to connect Italian theater to New York, I tried to think a project was important for to keep the memory of Italian theater of this period for the future too. Translator help to do this, translations, publications, to speak about this help. Of course, then we have a lot of important playwrights too. We met Rodolfo Castellucci here, so we know that in this a lot of things that happens. Romeo, I saw another. Rodolfo, I don't know, sorry. I was here. No, Romeo Castellucci, sorry. It's a lapsus, I don't know if it's Rodolfo. Yeah. I will think about it. So it's not easy to bring anything from Italy to here, and it's not easy to speak about Italian art of contemporary performing arts or writing arts or visual arts here in this moment with no money, no possibilities, no focus, many chaos. So I try to help with Frank, and thanks to the Martin Siegel Theater Center, and thanks to our donors who stay here and support the project. So enjoy and let me know what you think about it in the future. And the video comes, of course. Graziano Graziani sent this video from, he's a journalist from Rai Radio 3. He attended last year the Italian Playwrights Project with us. Today he can't be here with us because he's in Russia or something like that. It's a place then he will explain where he is. And he will talk about the process of Lehman Trilogy, then something about Lehman, the book by Mondadori, and see you later. Okay, thank you.
I'm recording this video in Transnistria, that is a country that doesn't really exist because it's not recognized. It claimed to be still a communist country because it was part of the former Soviet Union. And I'm talking about this presentation of a book of Stefano Massini in New York that talk about international finance in a way, because it touched the story of Lehman Brothers that it failed and interest not only America but even Europe, of course, and it's quite important and nice for us that it's Italian dramaturg that decided to write this story that now is start to be international, because there's several translation of this work. That it start as a PS, a work for the theater, and it was an important PS because several things like the direction of Luca Ronconi, that it was his last direction. Luca Ronconi was one of the most important director in Italy for the second part of the 20th century. His influence was so strong, not only for its generation, but I mean for even the other generation, like the young director. And the other reason is for the success of this text, that this piece that arrived to several kind of publics and audience. And it's important, I think, because in our country, in Italy, I think it's a good moment for dramaturgy, because we have different important experiment of dramaturgy, but they not always go to big audience. They sometimes need a big work to be visible. Instead, this Stefano Massini work seems to have a good visibility, and it's like a good signal for our dramaturgy that can use the language and word of theater to tell new stories. And this is quite important, I think, even because of the style that Stefano Massini used, especially in the version of the book, Something About The Lehmans, where you can find the first text. I mean, the big one, because the text need to reduction to be used in theater. Well, you can find that this word, this way of telling a story, is extremely fascinating people that read it, because it goes like a stream, we can say, and the language is related to many type of languages. We can say it's related to poetry, because not only because it's using the verses going online and using a kind of verse, but even because you can build very important and powerful images. And it's related to essays too, because it gives a lot of information about the story that we don't know, and so good. And it's related even to epic, because Stefano Massini decided to tell a story of a family that starting with a migration from Europe to America, and becomes the story of one of the most important banks in the world, and I mean something that is related to our life now, for the crisis that was so important issue in this time in Europe and in both in America. And right now it's related to even comics, I think, because in the book version there's even a part made by comics. So it's nothing you can put in a cage, and in a way it's a testimony of the power of the writing for theater, of the dramaturgy, to build up powerful images and interesting story. I think that it's very complicated in theater to talk about economy, even if everybody's trying to do that because of the crisis. But Stefano Massini finds his way telling an epic story, and it's a smart solution, because very few people try a way to talk about economy in theater. Of course, we have big authors like Bertolt Brecht, but he also used an epic, the ideology. That is a kind of epic. Instead, now we're living in a post-ideological time, and so starting from another kind of epic that is what a family did and a migration. It's like a story that interests not just one nation, but it's worldwide story in this way. Try to find a solution to bring economy in theater. That is complicated because I think that economy is one of the most abstract activity that humankind invented, and in a way is not non-human in this way, no? And theater is the temple of humanity, I think, of what is human. I mean, feelings, these kind of things. So it's even more complicated to talk about finance because that is the most interesting part of the economy right now for our times. So changing the point of view can say to us a lot of things, and I think that this play and this book do this kind of work. So I hope you enjoy the discussion, and a big ciao from Transnistria.
Son of a cattle merchant, circumcised Jew, with only a suitcase at his side, still, motionless, like a telegraph pole, on dock number 4 at the port of New York. Thank God for arriving. Baruch Hashem. Thank God for leaving. Baruch Hashem. Thank God for finally being here, there in America. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Screaming children, porters under the weight of luggage, the screeching of iron and the creaking of pulleys. In the middle of everything, he stands still, just landed, wearing his best shoes, which have never been worn save for the moment when I will be in America. And now, here it is the moment when I will be in America. It is marked by a gigantic iron clock. Way up high on the tower of the Port of New York, 7:25 in the morning. He pulls out a pencil out of his pocket, and on the edge of a small piece of paper he writes 7:25. Enough time to see that his hand trembles, maybe from emotion, or maybe from the fact that after a month and a half of crossing, finally to be standing on dry land. No swaying. changeling. 18 pounds lighter. In a month and a half of crossing, a filled beard more than that of a rabbi, grown but never cut. In 45 days, up and down between the bunk and the deck and the deck and the bunk, he left a teetotaler from Le Havre, but he arrived in New York an experienced drinker, practiced at distinguishing at first sip brandy from rum, gin from cognac, Italian wine and Irish beer. He left Le Havre ignorant of card playing, and he arrived in New York a champion of betting and dice. He left shy, taciturn, self-absorbed, and landed convinced he knew the whole world. Irony of the French, Spanish, party, schizophrenic pride of the Italian cabin boys. He left with America fixed in his mind and landed with America now directly in front of him, but not in his thoughts anymore. America was in his eyes. Baruch, Baruch Hashem. Seen up close on this cold September morning, observed still and motionless like a telegraph pole on pier number 4 of the port of New York. America resembled a music box. For every window that was open, there was one that was closed. For every cart that was turning a corner, there was another one appearing at the other. For every client who got up at a table, there was another one who sat himself down. Even though everything was ready, he thought for a moment, inside his head, for months of waiting to see her, America, the true America, it wasn't more than a flea circus. Nothing impressive. In fact, if anything, it was a joke. Funny. It was at that moment that someone pulled him by the arm. It was an official from the port, a dark uniform, a white mustache, and a big hat on his head. And he wrote in his log with names and numbers of those who just landed, asking simple questions in basic English. Where do you come from? Rimpa. Rimpa, where is Rimpa? Bayern, Germany. And your name? Chaim Lehman. I don't understand the name. Chaim. What is Chaim? My name is Henry. Henry. Okay, and your surname? Lehman. Lehman. Henry Lehman. Henry Lehman. Okay, Henry Lehman, welcome to America and good luck. He stamped his papers, September 11th, 1844. He slapped his hand on his shoulder and he went his way to another. Henry Lehman. He looked around. The ship he had left, the Burgundy, seemed like a sleeping giant. But another ship was maneuvering in the port, ready to unload on dock number 4 with 149 like him. Maybe Jewish, maybe German, maybe wearing their best shoes, with only a suitcase at their sides. They would tremble with surprise, a little with emotion, and a little from Trinidad, a little because of America. The true America. Seen up close, like a giant music box. It has a certain feeling. He took a deep breath, grabbed his suitcase, and with rapid footsteps, despite not yet knowing where to go, he entered. He made his way inside the music box, called America.
Io se vuoi posso provare, poi vediamo.
Come si può cominciare in inglese? We join later. No, second part.
Cosa mai ti chiedo le parole?
Well, first of all, thank you for the great reading. Marco, where are you? There, thank you. And to Robert, that truly a great American actor, which you have seen for sure on stage and in film. And thank you again. This is just a little glimpse, a little idea for an idea out of a novel that is inspired by a play that goes on for 7 hours, the Lehman Trilogy. So I won't make the introduction too long, but I always remember the introduction by Tom Wolfe, Ben Fire of the Vanities. He said he traveled to Berlin and he said, what are the great books about the wall? I want to have all the books about the Berlin Wall. And in the bookstore people said, oh, there are no books about the wall. And he said, what do you mean? This is the most obvious thing to write about. There should be books about the wall and families. No one. There was one small book, I think, The Mauerspringer, by one writer, but nobody really wrote about it. In a way, one could say this is this big thing that happened with the Lehman Brothers, which stands, as we say, as a mythical image. But how come you had the idea to write about what, in a way, is so obvious, but not? I'm not aware of a play here or about a film. What inspired you to do it?
Yes, I think that I remember very well, like when I decided to write about Lehman history, I tried not to write the story of a bank or the story of a family, a big family, a great family, but I decided to write about a great epical story, because I thought and I think now that the Lehman Brothers history is not only the story of a family and of a bank, is the history of our last century and the history of the reasons because we arrived to the big crisis of the subprime and then the crisis of Europe, Italy, Greece, Ireland, Portugal, and so. Why I decided to write about? I don't know exactly. I think that when a writer starts to write, there is a lot of reasons. I think that there was, I don't know exactly when, but there was a moment in my life when I found that people in Italy, in Europe, perhaps in United States too, was hating the economy, the banks, the great finance. And I think that in that moment I thought that I need to write the history not of a terrible bank with terrible men, but the incredible history of a very human foundation of a bank. And I think that the story of Lehman is the very, very human history of the foundation of a great empire. There is a great, very, very interesting book written by Peter Chapman, and the title of the book is The Last of the Imperious Rich. I think that Lehman Brothers was really the last of the imperious rich. And I think that for a writer, one of the most important things is is founding the great history of the last imperious rich.
So, and how did you learn about it? You saw it in the news, on television, or how did you follow the story of the Lehman at first?
I remember that I bought a lot of books because I am not an economist. I am not a person who knows the reasons of the great banks, and I decided to be learned about. And I remember that I bought a lot of books, and I didn't see a lot of movies, because for me watching the movies is very, very difficult before writing a history about, because I think that watching movies is a forced for images, and it was very important for me to read book, and in particular way to see a lot of photos, old photos. And I remember that I found it also on the website of the Lehman Foundation, a lot of extraordinary photos, old photos, ancient photos of the first three brothers, Henry, Emmanuel, and Meyer, who went in the United States in the middle of the 19th century. And it was very, very important for me to see these photos.
To put it in. Yeah, so how do you think theater can help to tell that story compared to, you also wrote a novel of the film, what in your play, which of course hopefully one day will come here.
Yes.
But what is your idea in theater? How do you work? What do you want to see? What do you want to put on stage? What's your passion about this?
This is a very complex question for me, because I think that few people told me that Lehman Trilogy is not a real playwriting. And I think that this is, for me, the first reason for the great love I have for my Lehman Trilogy. Because I think that in this moment, in this time, it's very hard attenersi.
To connect, to stay close.
Yes, look, to the divisions between screenplay, playwright, and novel and journalism. I think that now we have only the writing. And for me, in theater too, and this was the first reason for the great collaboration between me and Luca Ronconi. Luca Ronconi taught that theater, in few words, Luca Ronconi taught that theaters can do everything. Also, if we have not a real playwriting. And I started to read by myself the text of Lehman Trilogy, and I thought that perhaps it would be possible to bring my text on the stage without forcing my text in a real playwriting. And this is the reason for that I think that Lehman is a, honestly, I don't know what I wrote. I only know that I wrote. And I think that for me was an incredible journey, cultural, epical, and perhaps religious too journey. And I know that there was a moment, an instant, when I realized that my piece was finished. I didn't decide to arrive to that epilogue. Not. I remember that there was a moment when I realized that perhaps it is finished, and I tried to read by myself with high voice with my text, and I thought perhaps it could be theater too, not only novel, theater too. And I remember that I asked for Luca Ronconi and asked a opinion for him. I think in this moment too, Luca Ronconi died in 2015, the 21 of February, while Lehman Trilogy was on the stage of Piccolo Teatro of Milan. And now, 2 years after the death of Luca Ronconi, I think too that Luca Ronconi was the most incredible, not director, theatrical director. I think Luca Ronconi was the most incredible mind, human mind I never met. And I remember that I asked for his opinion about, and Luca Ronconi told me that no, he wrote me a letter because Luca Ronconi, I think that he didn't know what it is, the email of he wrote a great letter with a spectacular, incredible calligraphy, and sent me a letter. And I have this letter in my bedroom, and I remember that he wrote me, "You can come you can come and meet me in my house in Umbria. Umbria is a little region in Italy, because I think your Lehman Trilogy could be really theater. Not only, perhaps a great theater.
Well, that is a great, great accomplishment, you know, to get such that recognition from one of the greatest directors.
Sorry for my terrible English.
No, your English is very good.
I try not to need him.
Ronconi really is one of the great masters of theater in Europe. And also for you to know that Piccolo Teatro, next to Théâtre de l'Odéon, or the Schaubühne Berlin, is of the National Theatre London, is the leading theater in Europe and in a continent with a long and strong tradition. So that is quite something that he found that. And my question is, you said my playwriting and real playwriting. What's the difference? You said my playwriting and the real. What do you think is real? And
in Lehman Trilogy, we have not the indication of the character telling this part or this part of the piece. Lehman Trilogy is, if you can read it, is only a apparently great monologue without indications about the characters. And I asked for not only Luca Ronconi, but all the directors that in these 4 years have decided to stage the Lehman Trilogy. I asked them to decide how many actors, how many actresses Luca Ronconi decided to stage Lehman Trilogy with 12 actors, 11 masculine actors and only feminine actors. And I remember that there were other directors in Europe, in Spanish, in Spain, in France, in Germany, but they decided to stage the same text with only 3 actors, or with 19 actors, or with only 2 old actresses. There was an incredible young director in Portugal who called me by phone and told me, I have a great idea, told me. And he told me, I think that this is only a great monologue of only a great actress. Because in my language, in Portugal, bank is feminine.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's an interesting, thing of how that's a material of text. It's not character-driven. It's distribution of text. Is left to the director. So it's quite a astonishing concept of a 7-hour play, and we will see what Sam Mendes will come up with in London. It will be interesting, and I really truly hope that this significant play also will find a way to New York City. It actually should be done here, and is, as always, astonishing that no one snatched it already and is burning to do it. How did you come to theater? How did you connect to theater as in your personal journey? How does that work out?
If it is possible, let me tell me anything about this, because I think this is very, very funny for me that in the great the time of the globalization, we have a great example of this, because it is for me very, very funny that an Italian playwright wrote the history of a great American bank founded by German immigrants, and one of the most important English directors like Sam Mendes decided to use the version of Italian about a history of Jews from Germany. Is the globalization, is the cultural phase of the globalization. Yes, now I'm working with Sam Mendes. I don't know exactly what will be in London next year. But I'm very, very interested for the great enthusiasm that Sam Mendes and the National Theatre of London has about this project. I don't know the way they will change exactly to bring my piece on the stage. I think that very sincerely, when people ask me, what do you think about your piece, your play, or they ask me, are there in your Lehman Trilogy any arguments you think they are very important? And I answer that I know exactly, because I think that Lehman Trilogy is a great complex, a big complex material. So I don't know if it is a playwriting, but I think it is a material. And material is a novel, is a graphic novel, because in the something about Lehman, the novel, there is a part by graphic novel. I think that in this moment I can use a lot of ways in order to tell a history. And I think that not only Stefano Massini, but everyone is able to decide in every part of his opera the way for telling. And I think that in this moment, in this time, this is a great occasion for the storytelling.
Yeah, and I think like Heiner Müller is a playwright who arranged material, collaged it, and then said, you know, the director should make sense of it, and ultimately the audience. It is no longer a dictatorship and author it as an authoritarian, but we have to, you know, also times are changing. We have to find new ways. What did you discover?
Sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think too that in cinema, in movie too, is the same thing. In this moment, we have a lot of productions of movie, but they are not really movies. In United States of America, Michael Moore made Bowling at Columbine. Bowling at Columbine is not a movie. Is a documentary movie, is a fiction movie. I don't know, but it is a movie. And for the same reason, I don't know if my Lehman Trilogy is really playwright. I know only that is a material for theater. Perhaps like Bowling for Columbine, I don't know if it is a movie, but is material for cinema. And is this the same thing for me?
I absolutely agree, and that's what makes it unique, approachable, also so open for a global view on it, and not in just an Italian look into it as an inside view. What did you learn what was surprised you most about the history of that family from 1844 till 2000? What was it, 16 or what was it? What was the surprising things you found out?
A lot of things. The first one, I found extraordinary, amazing, because I found that a lot of occasions I have now, like a citizen of the world of the new millennium, were born for the Lehman's family ideas. My computer, Philip Lehman and Bobby Lehman decided to finance the idea, the incredible idea to bring the informatic into the house of people, and not only in the offices and in the banks. The great movie, I found that Lehman Brothers decided to finance, Bobby Lehman decided to finance Marlon Brando, Gone with the Wind, King Kong, a lot of great movies were realized with the money of Lehman Brothers Bank. Broadway, Radio City Hall, the first radio corporation of America, and then the Pan American Airlines, and the art and the Metropolitan Museum and a lot of things exist now for the ideas of the Lehman family, and this is an incredible thing for me.
Well, before we invite Valeria and Giorgio to come up here, maybe just a question: how did you connect first to theater in your personal journey? I know you studied ancient language, you studied languages at university, but how did you connect to theater? And where do you really think that does theater fit in? What is the mission of theater in the times we live?
It is another complex question. I think that because it is a very complex question, and two more complex in English for me, but we try to answer. And I can try to tell you that I think that in this moment, the theater is remained the one
ritual
without religion. The theater is the one place where a people can enjoy the words and the bodies moving of other people without any religious scene. I really think that the surviving of theater is one of the most important conquests of our modern age, because theater was going to die, and the surviving of theater is one of the most important thing we have now. In order to answer to the first question, I don't know where exactly I was connected with the theater. I know only that the theater I can tell you that I cannot remember a moment where my life not was strongly connected with perhaps not a real theater, but with the idea of theater. I think that probably in one of my precedent lives, Perhaps I was an actor or a performer, or I don't know.
But your love for language, for sure, is through your studies and your work, something that is the foundation and a big part of contemporary theatre. Also in a post-traumatic theatre, I would also like to point out great theatre, the global context in the moment. It's not that the well-made British play where you can have exposition and a crisis and the end and character speaking. A lot of collages, ensemble work, text material that's put together in an unusual way. And it is the better for it. And I think it's the more interesting. And I think you are one of the great artists who is reinventing and remixing.
But I think, sure. But I think I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, because theater is a lot of matters in the same place. Theater is painting, is reading, is writing, is moving, is dancing, is playing. Theater is a sum of arts. I don't know if theater is a great or a little art, but without doubts, it is a sum of arts.
Yeah, it is. I would like to invite both of you, come here, Giorgio and Valeria, just to give your some thoughts from you. You might have. Can you bring? Oh, you bring a chair. Yeah. Valeria, you could go here, and Giorgio, maybe.
I use you.
Yeah, a question first. Marco. Yes, of course. Is he here? Yeah, Marco. Yeah. Giorgio, sorry. Where do you see Stefano's work does fit in the literary scene, or the scene of Italian work and culture?
We came from the same place, because we are two Florentine. I saw the first things of Stefano just in Calenzano, where he works in the past, and I think that the most important thing is in his theater is that he took together the reality with the real capacity of use it in the stage to transform in theater. It's for me it's fantastic, because you have I think a problem of a theater in Italy is that it is autoreferenziale. I don't know.
Self-referential.
Yeah. No, they speak together, but not speak to the other people. And since the beginning, I found in the theater of Stefano a capacity to speak to people, to put on stage things that people can find of interesting but completely transformed in material for theater. And this is it's not easy. It's not so often it's possible to find a playwriting like this.
Yeah, well, thank you, and also, in a way, so open about it, about the form, but still, so dedicated to the writing. And from the excerpt, which Robert did so beautifully, you could see the quality, how it changed the room, and how we were listening, and what connections our brains were doing in the moment. But Marco, you're a writer. You also live here in New York. Of course, you have strong Italian ties. Would this play work? Does that speak to an American audience? Do you think it is something? Not theater. Someone said it's like wine. You ship it on a boat, or that might arrive no longer good. It's a complex thing. But what do you think about the work, and how does it?
First of all, let me tell you that this is not just a national meeting, this is a regional meeting. I come from Prato, Calenzano is exactly next door where I was born and raised. This is amazing. Anyway.
Also Tommaso.
Also Tommaso is, yeah. but Calenzano is really like there. So anyway,
we
of
are
course.
the Italian immigration in the United
Exactly.
States, the Tuscan immigration in the United States.
Exactly, it's really specific. Of course, it speaks. I mean, the fact. It's about an American story, but it's not just that. It's very universal. I mean, let me tell you. Stefano proposed 3 chapters to read tonight. I mean, proposed, but of course we were open and free to decide. And I decided to read only the first chapter, and so to approach the play, the text, the novel, only from, it's the first chapter, so it's the beginning of that saga. And the beginning of the saga is the saga of everybody who leaves everything behind and goes somewhere else to look for a better future. And this happened, during the course of our history. It happened yesterday, it will happen tomorrow. It happened to Lehman's story, it happened to me, it happened to us. So that's more than American, it's universal. On top of that, the Lehman, they came here. And they created, I'm amazed by what you said, that they were so, as artists, we are trained, aware or not aware to, separate the fight for the art and the financial, it's another world. But then to discover once again, because that's the truth, that they were so involved also in the development of the arts. So I think, I really hope this play should come here as soon as possible. And the fact that it's been done across Europe and soon at the National makes me feel that you're on the right path to Broadway.
It's very important for me. I remember that Luca Ronconi told every time that we must not do in theater what people cares and loves. In theater, we need to tell the histories, the characters, the situations people doesn't care, people doesn't love. Because Luca Ronconi told, theater is like a medicine.
And Valeria, you're a producer in Italy, and we have produced great writers. You toured productions. Lucia Calamari was here with some things you did, Regina Del Mondo and others. Where do you see Stefano's work fit in? Yeah, what do you think is special about his work, or where do you see his work, and would this play? Would people go if it's done in Lincoln Center Theater, for example?
First of all, the special story of Stefano is that he's a playwright, he's Italian, and his plays goes around the world. Yeah. And now it's not easy, it's not usual. So it is special, and of course it is because he writes very well. And of course, because he writes something, as I was talking Giorgio, something is not self-referential, but it tried to find a dialogue with the universe. So it's much easy to it's much easy to spread outside Italy and find other audience and find other inspiration and grow up. Mm-hmm. So we need a lot to grow up. Everybody of us need to grow up. So when you find somebody who can grow up, I am very happy to stay very close to this reality. And I think also Marco told a very, very true evidence that it is a story, maybe as Luca Ronconi told, that speak about nobody cares, nobody loves, but it's a story that speaks about us, everybody. So it is important for me.
But not apparently.
Not apparently, no. It is deeply, not apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is the idea that theater is a healing force that activates self-healing, a homeopathic pill that makes things better. I think it's an incredible moment in Italian playwriting. At the moment, we had this strong showing last year. Also, Fausto Paravedino, who came back and just did a 4 or 5 week workshop here. He liked staying here, came back to the Siegel. We did work. It's very strong. So the post-Berlusconi times, in a way, also created a good theater, a strong theater, perhaps a rediscovery of roots of theater. And the Piccolo Teatro really also goes back to visits of Bertolt Brecht, who came to the Piccolo, and Giorgio Strehler, who is the big father, in a way, of Italian theater. Brecht saw his work and said, you're the only one who can do my work. Dario Fo was in the Piccolo Teatro. Marcello Mastroianni was in the Young Company as a young lover. So it's a significant work, so it's a big honor. You're the artistic director also now of the theater, and I hope perhaps the visit also tonight will be a beginning of a dialogue with the New York theaters, New York scenes, and to reconnect what should be connected and what should be easy in that global world where we all live in. So it's, I hope, a beginning of a long friendship. Maybe, Michael, we put up the light in the audience a bit, and we have time for questions. It's actually a very important part for all of us that this is even a bit more. So if there are things you want to say or have to say, I would like to know. This is a moment, so to anybody, but of course to Stefano. And it's good. Let's try to focus on his work and the play. And so any questions or comments? And we have a microphone. This is also live streamed, so not only to hear you better, but it's also being recorded. Some people will watch it. So this is why we ask. Maybe introduce yourself with name and what you do, and then ask the question.
Hi, I have a question for Stefano. My name is Adriana. I'm a New York Italian actress. And it feels to me that theater is a place where people go and a story is told, and then the place is different in virtue of that story and the audience and the actors and everyone. How do you hope that your audience will be transformed by hearing your story, the story that you wrote?
I think that, thank you for your question. I think that it is very important what Valeria told about the fact that what we stage in theater can be connected, deeply connected with our life, but not apparently. And this is the first answer for your question. I think that people can find in theater that there are few things not in appearance but in deep. And this is very important for me. But I can answer another thing too. When Giorgio told about the self-relational,
referential,
first referential theater, I think that it is a very, very important question, not only in Italy. Because I think that theater is anything very strong, very, very strong. But it is a paradox that usually theatrical people are not so sure about the la forza, sì.
The strength.
I remember that I wrote a play about Anna Politkovskaya. And this play was performed in Italy, then in France, then in Spain. A day, 4 years ago, I remember that I received a call from Russia, and they told me that the evening of the last day, the representation of my piece was prohibited, and when the actress tried to perform the play prohibited, people burn the theater. I think that this for me was a great reason of finding the incredible power of theater in our third millennium. Theater is not died. Theater is incredible, survived, and we can use it. Perhaps we must use it.
Another question or remark?
Hi, my name is Maurita Cardone. I'm the deputy editor of La Voce di New York. So I was wondering, and I got here late, so if you touched on this, I apologize. I was wondering if you think that there is any kind of theater that is more international than another, and what makes it international? Because, you know, Valeria was saying that it's unusual for Italian playwrights to be represented outside of Italy, and I agree. So what makes your theater suitable for international audience? Thank you.
I think that about this we have to remember that in this moment we have not yet, we have not we have not an audience of Italy, an audience of France, of Spain, of the United States. Because I think that it is very important for us to remember every time that in this moment, for Facebook, for Twitter, for the social networks, we have only a great audience connected, and I think that I sentimenti, modi di
feelings,
that the feeling of the American audience are not so far from the feelings of the public of Italy or France. I was very surprised a month ago to watch on my TV the movie of a theatrical version of one piece of mine, performed in Lima, Peru. And I watched that the audience of Peru was laughing in the exactly same moments of the Italian audience or the Spanish audience. And it is not a comedy; it is a drama. And I can think that when during a drama people laugh, it is not for smiling, but non è per divertimento.
It's not for entertainment. It's not because they're having fun.
But it is for nascondere un sentimento.
It's to hide the feeling.
e il pubblico del Perù faceva la stessa cosa a livello francese.
The audience in Peru were doing exactly the same thing of the French one.
So theater, in a way, is also like music. You know, it's a global way of listening. Just a fast question in between, and I apologize to the audience, but what American playwrights do you follow? Who are you aware of? Who do you know of contemporary American writers?
American writer. I remember that one of the first pièce I've seen in my life in theater was in Florence. Giorgio knows very well Teatro della Pergola in Florence, one of the most important theater in Florence. And I remember I saw a tram called by Tennessee Williams.
Tennessee Williams.
I remember very well. Yes.
What other are there American contemporary writers that are being shown? Is there?
And I think that it is very important that every time the first pièce you can see in your life is not a pièce of your culture. I remember that in a mail 1 or 2 months ago, Miss Judy Dench, chapeau, wrote me that I'm very, very happy to have a relation with an Italian playwright, because I remember that the first time I saw I've seen a theatrical pièce in my life was Pinocchio. Yes.
That is amazing. So also interesting for our audience that since Tennessee Williams not so much travel, which is also and then shocking, you know, in a way that also American writing in a way is insular. It doesn't really go out like the wave of new young writers there. Thomas Bradshaw, Yang Jean Lee, Jacob Jenkins, and so many, Annie Baker, and so many others. It's not traveling over there.
David Mamet.
Yeah, David Mamet. You know, oh good. So I think, you know, there's a lot of work to be done on both sides, and on seeing, and hopefully your project will help. But is there another question or comment? Here, and we'll wait for the microphone, please.
Thanks. Hi, Stefano. I'm wondering, what do you think is the point of your piece? Do you think what do you think are the what does your piece say about society at large, or America, or do you have any different views that you have now than you had when you started?
I can answer with a few words. I every time try not to have a point of view, because I think that we are in a theatrical time after Bertolt Brecht. And in this moment, I work in the Piccolo Teatro of Milan, where we have the mate of Bertolt Brecht with the Beggar's Opera, but I think that in this time it is very difficult to have a point of view, an exact point of view in theater. I often try to read my words and to cut off the word where it is clear my point of view. I think the audience, the people, you don't care what Massini thinks. You care to hear a history. And I think that the most difficult the most difficult way for a writer is to try not to be, not to stay, not to live into his words. I try not to live into my words, but only to write my words, and then let my words speak to you, not I, not me.
But about globalization of theater now, but you use Italian. This is a
Yes,
problem
but
because it's a language spoken by
Yes.
a few people. We are here and we try to communicate, and we have to speak in English, but not only because we
Yes.
are in New York. Also, if we were in
Yes,
some.
but there is a very, very important thing about this, because I never wrote a piece about Italy in all my life. I have no problem to tell you that I'm not able to write only a word about my country. I'm not able to write a history from Italy. I use my language like a conventional language. And I think this is the reason, probably, it is the reason for the use that other countries can have of my words, because I have a conventional language in Italian.
Maybe one more question.
Hi, excuse me. So I understand your piece is about banking, and I was just curious how you developed your research, because for me, playwriting is not about writing. It's about mining the human condition. It's about being an archaeologist, an anthropologist, a listener, understanding why someone does what they do. So just curious, what kind of research did you do to develop this piece?
There is a lot of material of documentation about the Lehman family, about Bobby Lehman, about Philip Lehman, and I remember that for me it was very easy to find a lot of material about. I think that I absolutely agree with what you have told, that documentation is a very, very important moment before writing. I remember that when I decided to write about this story, I realized that it was very important for me to know almost everything about not only Lehman family, but about Jewish immigration in the United States of America, about the economical development of the South states, about the war, the wars, the first civil war, and then a lot of material, historical material about the Lehman family and about all the history of the United States in these 160 years of my piece.
Well, thank you. And again, I just want to point out the great concept of 160 years of a family history to combine it with the history of capitalism or neo-capitalism, and to weave it together and to really have a narrative.
About capitalism, I think that this is another way of reading the history of Lehman. I really think that this history of Lehman Brothers is the history of a change of religion, because they arrived in United States with a very, very strong identity of Jewish Ashkenazi immigrants, and they had a very strong identity of ritualism and of festivity from the Jewish German tradition, the Yiddish language, and very, very slowly we can see as the Lehman family misses his Jewish identity and arrived to have another religion. And this religion is capitalismus, with his festivity, with his laws. It is another religion. I think that this is the history of a changing of religion from Jewish Ashkenazi to capitalismus.
And in 69, or what you said, when other people would take it over who are no longer part of a family and of the tradition, something really radically changed. And so it is something we all should look at and be reminded of. Just wanted to close. He talked about that we have to remember history, that theater tells stories. And one of the great immigration stories, Jewish funny stories also, is that people did arrive from Germany and they were persecuted or wanted to start a new life. And the custom agent would say, "What is your name?" And they would say "vergessen," which means forgotten. Because they wouldn't lie, in case they had something from the police or
yes, and about this, Frank, and there is a moment about the documentation she asked me about. I read that one of the most critical and dramatic moments in the Lehman history was when the United States government asked for the most important banks for finance the Second World War and the First World War against Germany. And the Lehman Brothers was in the moment of deciding if they, with their money, could finance a war against Germany. It was a very dramatical moment for him there.
Yes, and the question of forgetting. And so to finish the story, it just was like the Ferguson, all the names we do know comes from that world play, and it's so much about history and memory. So I really, truly hope we all will see the work and read the novel. When will it come out in English? Do you know? Is there?
I don't know exactly when.
But someone is working on the
yes.
translation right now, and hopefully
I can say very soon, but I don't know exactly when.
Most probably in next year during the 2017.
I hope.
We hope. We will all see it. So thank you all again, truly, for coming and for taking your time to listen to a great artist from a country with a great tradition of theater that goes back, of course, to the Roman Greek theater and to the Commedia dell'arte and the Goldoni and Pirandello and so many others. It's a great line of also not just bankers, also writers. So it's a great to hear from you and from your messages from that part of the world. So thank you for coming, and I hope you all will come back. We have two more things. One is a special one, Feast. It's a production we do in collaboration, somewhat inspired by the Royal Court in London. It looks at Yoruba culture, and also a story of families for 2 or 3 centuries, how that kind of music influence was taken, lived in the underground. So somehow it's the very same and the very, very, very different. So hope you all come back. And again, Stefano, thank you so much for coming for a discussion like here. It's beyond belief. Thank you for doing it. And Robert for the presentation. Again, thank you.